Former President Trump slamming former President George W. Bush for comparing domestic extremists to the 9/11 terrorists. Trump blaming Bush for getting the United States involved in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, saying in a statement that Bush, quote, shouldn't be lecturing anybody. Here's what Bush said in his 9/11 speech at the Pennsylvania site of the crash of Flight 93.
There is little cultural overlap between violent extremists abroad and violent extremists at home. But in their disdain for pluralism, in their disregard for human life, in their determination to defile national symbols, they are children of the same foul spirit, and it is our continuing duty to confront them.
Let's turn to our CNN chief political correspondent, Dana Bash, and our senior political commentator, David Axelrod. Dana, what's your takeaway from these comments from two former Republican presidents?
Well, look, these are not words that we utter lately very much, but on this particular issue, former President Trump has a point that former President Bush is a flawed messenger, and he obviously knows that. And the reason he is a flawed messenger is because of the Iraq War. Having said that, he is, the other sort of side of that coin is that he is a very appropriate messenger for the specific thing that he had to say and what he wanted to get across as a former president. Remember, he is somebody who doesn't come out very much. He is not like Donald Trump in that he respects the traditions and the protocols of former presidents, and did so for the most part when his fellow Republican Donald Trump was in the White House. This time, the reason why it made sense is because he was president on 9/11, and he was trying to send a signal and to make a connection, a direct connection between terrorism that came from abroad, but it was terrorism on 9/11, and effectively domestic terrorism on January 6th without saying that. And on that, he's on terra firma. He certainly understands what he is talking about.
He certainly does. You know, David, Bush also went on to say this, and I'm quoting him, so much of our politics has become a naked appeal to anger, fear, and resentment. I would imagine that didn't necessarily sit well with former President Trump either.
No, I don't think it was a very subtle point, and Trump understood who he was talking about. And as day follows night, if you attack Trump, he'll attack you back. I agree with Dana that he has points to score on this issue of Iraq, but on this issue of domestic terrorism, we just heard Andrew McCabe report correctly that the FBI director, the Department of Homeland Security, both have said domestic terrorism is the chief threat we face right now. Not to gainsay in any way the other threat, but it's the chief threat, and Bush was right to speak out on it. But I would point out, Wolf, that you said at the beginning two Republican presidents. They were presidents of very different Republican parties, and right now it is Donald Trump who speaks for the majority of Republicans. In our own poll at CNN this week, 2/3 of Republicans said they thought he should lead the party. And I suspect if you asked him about George W. Bush, he would get a much lower number. This is Donald Trump's party right now. So in this tit for tat among Republicans, I bet you Trump comes out on top.